You're listening to the Gemhammer and Sons podcast, the only podcast where Conor and Joe discuss how to make your games more better. Roll initiative. Hey, we're back. Episode 2 here.
Episode 2, Electric Boogaloo. Please don't sue us.
I mean, what are you going to do for episode 3? Oh, Revenge of the Sith, obviously, will be the next, right. Will be the next episode. But we're going to start with our reactions, because that's, what we'll do. This is where we'll talk about when you tweet at us, Facebook comments on the website, really anywhere on the internet that you want to talk to us, we'll get. But we don't really have any of that, because...
one guy named Nicky posted on the website. He had a comment. He never thought of Session 0 before.
Okay.
And he was saying how he wanted the copy of the questionnaire we had put out for Session 0.
Okay.
For our group. So what we'll do is keep an eye out. We'll be sure to post that in one of the updates coming up soon.
Excellent. Besides that, no other comments, because actually the podcast just launched yesterday.
That's right.
For us, and we haven't even announced it.
Right, we haven't told anyone. Someone must have just been on the website and be like, oh, hey, there's a new button here at the top.
Right, there's a new button that says Gemhammer Weekly. So right now it's on our website. You can subscribe to the RSS feed. It's on the iTunes Store. It's on Google Play. It's also on Podbean. If you use another service to listen to podcasts, let us know, and we will do everything in our power to get it up there as well.
I'm sorry, I don't want to listen to your podcast. I only use PodMonkey. I apologize.
Well, we will totally put it up on PodMonkey. In fact, the only reason it's on Podbean is that's what I use for my podcast.
Oh, okay.
So that's the one I was familiar with. Doesn't everyone use what I use?
I really hope there's a PodMonkey, because I just totally made that up right here. But I really hope that someone's like, yeah, man, PodMonkey, right on. That's right on my...
You don't use PodMonkey? It's the best Unix-based podcasting service that I can use on my Windows phone. Oh, man, Windows phones. So I just wanted to, I have a couple bits of reaction here. First of all, I came into Conor's, what do you call this, the dining room?
Yes, it's the dining room.
This is the dining room. This is where all the boxes of...
dining room / warehouse.
Right.
Storage space.
Where all the decks of everything.
Well, now the Decks of Wonder and the Art Deck have joined the group, and I've actually got to update the Kickstarter page so people can see these boxes.
Oh, they're multiplying.
Yep.
And
we left them alone. There's 7 more now. It's like rabbits.
And sitting on the table where I sit for podcast recording, traditionally, having only done it once, where I traditionally sit,
yep,
is a piece of paper, an index card that says CAD McFab Plaid Bag.
MacFab.
It's Mac... No, you pronounce that Mick. McFab.
MacFab.
What about... I'm trying to think of someone whose last name is McFab. I can't... There's no one named McFab. That's not a real name, so I can't... I was about to say, what about, Williams McFab?
We're going to get, a phone call, like an email, the one guy named MacFab, and he's like, I'll have you know... have you know, the MacFabs of our proud tradition.
So yes, I have now seen CAD McFab Plaid Bag written on a piece of paper. I'm going to file this away and never look at it again, so I continue to say Tad Glad McFad Glad, because that's funny to me. I like that.
And that's why I call your character Annihilus Annulass, because that's what you wrote.
Well, we'll let the audience be the judge of that.
Okay.
Let us know. Another thing on reaction, the bleeps on the last podcast. Yes, they are aggressive. Conor apologizes for cussing as often as he did.
No, I don't.
No, he doesn't. And I will...
All 3 times, by the way.
Yes, all 3 times it was aggressive. All 3 times it was you. I do have...
Be aggressive. Oh, sorry. I thought we were doing a thing.
We were not doing anything.
We're not doing anything.
I know exactly why that was. It won't happen this time. And in fact, just to prove it,
my word. I do say.
Oh, give me the vapors.
Just for that, I need to put on this derby hat, this bowler cap, just to... My word!
All right, I do want to point out this is an audio experience for our listeners, and you didn't have to get up and get a bowler cap.
I really wish I had a monocle for this.
I am honestly shocked that you don't have a monocle.
I have one, I just don't know where it is.
You got to keep this stuff in the dining room when we're podcasting, so people can see how ridiculous you... So all our synesthesiac listeners can see exactly how different... They can smell how you feel when you're wearing...
They can taste the raccoon cap sitting but yonder.
Right. Just another couple points of reaction. I want to point out the laundry I moved to get the bookshelf into my bedroom. That was clean laundry. I want to make that clear. That it wasn't like these dirty clothes in a trash bag hanging out in a closet. It's clean laundry in a trash bag, in 3 trash bags, hanging out in my closet.
That makes it better?
It makes it different, and I don't want to have lied to all our wonderful internet people.
You're just embarrassed about your dirty laundry.
It's not dirty laundry, and I'm not, and I am embarrassed by it. Like, no one should live the way I live, and no one should live the way I live. And more advice from Joe and Connor. But I do just want to say, clean laundry. Don't send me tweets. Yeah, send me tweets about the trash bags.
I feel like at this point in our careers, I don't care what they send us tweets about. You know, it can be about Joe's dirty laundry. So be sure to,
Oh, we should have a...
hashtag Gemhammer, hashtag Joe's dirty laundry.
We should have a weekly segment where I, air some secret about my life, about my sordid past, and call it Joe's dirty laundry. I want to talk a bit about wrestling, because literally the day I finished editing the podcast, Nerdarchy came out with their video about wrestling. You have seen it, I have not. I saw that it existed. Mm-hmm. But it was about performance combat in D&D and adding sort of pro wrestling ideas to that.
It was a friend of theirs that runs a pro wrestling variant of D&D, how he does it and all about what they do and how they play it, which is amazing for a couple of reasons. One, we had just reached out to Nerdarchy. So Nerdarchy had just done a video about the deck of many things, and I sent them a message like, hey man, we'd like to send you some stuff. And they were like, yeah, that's cool, go for it. So we're gonna do that, once we sort through the 1,000,000 boxes in my dining room. And then the next day they post a video about wrestling. Now that's crazy for 2 reasons. One, because Joe is trying to develop a pro wrestling mechanic, but that came out of how in our periodically with our gaming group we play what we call Grapple Mania.
We do. And
Grapple Mania is an event where the heroes of the Suffering Coast gather together and they grapple. I apologize. They grapple one another for title belts. And we have this pop point system where people can, get +1 during combat for the rest of the match.
Right. Very similar.
Good charisma checks.
Similar to the performance combat mechanics in Pathfinder. Mm-hmm. We did adapt them for 5e, but it's hey, once a game, your character can have their music hit, you can interrupt a match or things like that. And it's a really cool tradition. I like it. I can't... Stay tuned for Gemhammer podcast number 65 when we are back to do another Grapple Mania.
We'll start doing a live game of Grapple Mania.
Maybe. That would be awesome. It's at the end of our campaigns. It's sort of this big blow-off. Oh man, all those times that the gnomish wizard tried to steal my booty, I'm going to finally stab him in the eye with a rapier for that. And it's cathartic, and it's great. But we talked in wrestling about gimmicks last week in the 3 quick tips section.
That's right.
And I had mentioned specifically a character, a performer, a wrestler, a young lady, Eva Marie, who kept getting out of matches. She got injured and then had a wardrobe malfunction. Well, the Tuesday we recorded, she was stuck in traffic and couldn't make her match. And this was all leading up to SummerSlam, which is the second biggest pay-per-view of the year for WWE. That was Sunday. That was 2 days ago. And it was going to be her in-ring debut. Everybody come watch this. You'll finally get to see her wrestle. We've been building it up for 3 weeks. She got suspended for violating the wellness policy on Friday. So after all this build-up...
I don't understand what they're building up to. Is she actually going to wrestle ever? Or is this some elaborate story plot?
But no, they don't do story plots with the suspensions for wellness policy. They never have. They've continued to say they wouldn't. So they can sort of build this idea that the wellness policy is real. Okay. And we really, really care about it. If you do, these banned substances, you're going to get suspended for 30 days. Hurt her leg, wardrobe malfunction, stuck in traffic, and then pop for a wellness violation and suspended for 30 days.
So do you think this is a string of bad luck? Or...
The first 3 obviously were...
building up to something.
That
was supposed to happen for SummerSlam.
Right. It was a storyline.
And now they're sitting there what the hell?
We invested 3 weeks into you, and now you're going to do this to us. So that will date this video for those. In case you make another D&D Next joke, it will date the video.
D&D Next will never not be funny.
I agree. So what we're doing this weekend? You want to let everybody know?
Oh, that's right. We're going to Vermont Comic-Con this weekend.
You just gave me the most confused look. You had no idea this was happening.
Yeah. I don't know what that's about because living room and dining room were just filled with stuff from the Kickstarter. But most importantly, for Vermont Comic Con. And we've been, like, going through it, and, like, I have to take time off work. So I don't know what happened to my brain where I just looked at him and went, the fuck is you talking about?
So we are going to Vermont Comic Con.
Yes, we are going to Vermont Comic Con. It's in Burlington, Vermont, this Saturday and Sunday, which, I mean, the 27th and 28th, 26th, 27th? This is a calendar, 27th and 28th. Make it if you have a DeLorean time machine, because this is going to post days after that we go.
No, I am making a commitment to myself.
Okay.
I am committing to myself and to these wonderful internet people.
All 10 of them.
That this, that this podcast will be up on Thursday.
Giving them 2 days.
Right. And I'm saying, right here, Connor has not heard about this. This is a special thing from Joe to you wonderful internet people. I forgot your name last week. This is my apologies. If you are hearing this podcast...
if you will.
The whips?
Whips.
Oh, without the H.
Internet people.
You said whip, and I'm like, what could the H possibly mean?
Wonderful human internet people.
If any of you wonderful internet people are listening to this podcast on Thursday, or Friday, or Saturday, or Sunday, and you have tickets to Vermont Comic Con.
Or maybe you're just in the Burlington, Vermont area.
Ooh, yes. And you come and you say, hey, Joe and Connor, I was listening to the podcast. You told me to come to your table, to your booth. I, Joe from Gemhammer, will 100% out of my own pocket buy you a thing that we sell. Absolutely free. Just come and say, hey, heard you on the podcast. I want a thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is commitment.
That is commitment.
That is powerful commitment.
You will hear from me on next Gemhammer Weekly if anyone did that. And if so...
I will be over the moon.
Yes.
If someone does that. If someone like rolls up and is like, hey, I listen to your podcast, I get a free thing. What? Oh my god!
But yeah, we've got t-shirts and buttons and sticks and ribbons and streamers and
sticks,
bricks and soup spoons and ladles.
You're not even trying anymore. You have no idea what we have.
See, this is what you do. We go on the podcast and you put me on the spot to remember what we call the listeners or what's in the box.
The box that's next to you?
Okay, I am going to... Here's what we got. This is off the top of my head.
Okay.
We have all the decks, right?
We have all the decks. We don't have all the decks. One of them's not here yet.
We've got the art deck, the deck of many things, the deck of many things 0th edition, the deck of wonder. We've got t-shirts, buttons, mini posters,
that aren't really that many. I'm not sure why they call them that, but moving on.
We've got custom dice,
dice sets.
We also have dice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we got them from WizKids.
Okay, so that's one thing I missed that we don't have dice
and
sets.
Also the dice of mystery dice, if you will. If you want to find out all about mystery dice and what mystery dice is all about, you should come to Vermont Comic Con this Saturday.
Yeah, you should come to Vermont Comic Con tomorrow.
Yeah, and find out all about it. And if you're in the greater New York area and you want to make that ridiculous drive, I'm going to give you a high five. I'm going to make that commitment.
Okay.
I will high five. Woo.
Money out of my pocket and a token gesture of appreciation from Connor. But I will gladly buy you, something.
I will buy you a button.
You'll buy him... Oh, you...
Oh, me.
You generous person.
Yep.
You know what? I'm up in the ante. It's not just going to be something. It's going to be anything you want.
What if they want one of everything?
Well, anything. Not any things. So if you go, I'd really like a deck of many things.
I'll give you 5 free magical artifacts.
But our business cards have magical artifacts on them.
It's true. Our business cards have magical artifacts in the back.
We're going to do a quick ad and then come back for Tales from the Table.
Woo!
We're here today for Cure Wounds Light.
Our potion is cold brewed on the spine of the world using only the finest quality Eye of Newt and Dragon's Liver.
Perfect for a barbecue with your bros, relaxing on the beach, or recovering from a fight with a goblin.
One goblin. A small goblin.
Remember, that's Cure Wounds Light. Tastes great.
Less healing.
Cure Wounds Light would like to remind you to please quaff responsibly. Swords, sorcery, role-playing, math. It's time for Tales from the Table. And thank you to our wonderful sponsors for all of that.
Yeah, that was a riveting commercial ad break.
We gotta get you to record some of the ad breaks. I've got them all so far.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't like I was like when we recorded the first one, we hadn't quite figured out what it is we were gonna do for ad breaks. I even mentioned that I was like, that's probably just gonna be us. And then I was listening to it when you first posted it, and I'm like driving, listening, and I'm like, oh man, what's about to happen? And then all of a sudden, like in a totally different pitch, your voice comes out. It's like, wow, okay, it's just us. And it was just so perfect to me. But
Yeah.
so Tales from the Table. We're talking about last night's game.
Yes.
So last night we played, I don't know, it was like the third or fourth session into our Planescape adventure.
Yeah.
Which is just you and Phil. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your character and Phil's character? And
So Phil and I wanted a more hardcore D&D experience. We didn't want to 3d6, drop the lowest one or anything like that. Stat arrays. We usually do stat arrays when we play, because I like stat arrays. We usually do stat arrays, but we just did 3d6 down the line.
Yeah.
Roll 3d6, that's your strength. Another 3d6, that's your dex. Another 3 con, int, whiz, charisma, or the other way around.
Whatever.
So I ended up with a high charisma and a high constitution, so became a sorcerer, a wild magic sorcerer, using the wonderful Gemhammer Deck of Wonder, available now at Drive-Thru RPG. Phil got a high whiz and I think strength.
Yeah, wisdom and strength.
And then became a war cleric. He's playing a half-orc named Big Keth.
Yep.
And I am playing a nihilus. That was just from a name generator.
I believe
So that's who we are. And we wore... I think we both took the criminal background.
Yeah, you both took the criminal background. You guys decided you were going to play villains. And now this was something that just kind of came out of... We were early one day for a game, and like no one else was going to be able to play till like 7:30. So it's like, let's just like start playing for no reason. And we already knew that when the new campaign came around that I was going to be DMing it, and I had some like random stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll DM a session. That's not a big deal.
Yeah, so you can get the kinks out with just me and Phil as opposed to the whole group.
Exactly. And so that was really strange because it was all just like cobbled together last second, and it turned into this thing where it was like, all right, you guys are part of this criminal enterprise, and you're gonna go and like find out what happened to these halflings that were supposed to be like holding a bunch of loot that was stolen, and so it could be later fenced. You guys got there, and a bunch of Gith were around, and Gith were coming through a portal that you guys didn't know was there, and you guys fought the Gith that almost died. And they got away.
We were level 1 sorcerer cleric. We had a total of 8 hit points.
I stand by what I said.
I believe, actually, to make it even more hardcore, we rolled the first dice as opposed to taking the max that you get at first level.
Yeah.
So I believe as a sorcerer with a +2 con, I had 6 hit points to start.
You guys have been doing very well, all things considered.
All things considered.
But so really, like, I didn't know where I was going with this. It was just kind of like I had been reading Isle of the Ape, which is for 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and it's a really, really difficult like adventure. It kind of takes... It's way worse than the Tomb of Horrors in a lot of ways. Like, because the Tomb of Horrors starts off with, if you don't go down the right hallway, you all die.
Right, because Gygax.
Well, this is the same kind of difficulty level, but it's not as immediately apparent how deadly it is or how screwed up this place is. So, like, you end up going to, like, this demi-plane that's like an island, and there's even, like, stuff there where it's like, maybe you don't stay in this island. You go to one of the other island chains in the world that this is in, and you go off on other adventures. But let's pay attention to what's going on this island. It's basically King Kong. And I read a lot of like the old 2nd edition like adventure series, and I read the old G1s and stuff like that, just like kind of going through them. It's like, what was it like before like I was alive? What was D&D like back in the day? What was D&D like when Gygax was at the helm and this was the world? And I'm just like really curious, and I want inspiration, and so I'm looking at all this stuff.
You know, what were the TSR guys doing when
exactly
when they needed to play their game on Monday nights?
Right, exactly. So I had just finished reading through the adventure, Isle of the Ape, and there's this whole part where, like, there's this portal that you can get sucked into, and this very specific puzzle involving that, and I thought that maybe I'd do that with you guys. And then it was like we were running out of time, so it didn't do that. You guys just got sucked into this portal. Then we decided, you know, we'll keep playing with these characters, and we're going to start to do a thing with it. And I had been, I'd also been reading through a lot of Planescape stuff, and I gotta tell you, I love Planescape. I think it's one of the coolest things in 2nd edition. It's got this really beautiful, but like also kind of bleak art style about all of the like the books and the modules and everything. It feels like the 90s. I'm not sure how to describe it, but it's like the campaign setting is like all the different planes, And there's portals that you can like easily get to all the different planes, and it takes place in the Outlands and the city of Sigil, which is like the center of the D&D universe. Or at least the center of the Outlands. And like there's you like skip through every campaign setting. You can't decide on the campaign setting? Cool. Pick Spelljammer or Planescape, and you can do all the campaign settings, because there's a way to get to all of them now.
Right.
And if you don't know what Spelljammer is like D&D with spaceships. And if you want to get in a magic spaceships.
Okay. I thought it was just like Apollo 11.
And you can get on
Neil Armstrong's a tiefling.
No, it's like a giant manta ray ship that like you use spell slots to fly.
Huh.
And like if you want to go from the known world Mysteria to Greyhawk or Dragonlance, there's a way to do that. Yeah, you get in your ship and you fly there, because like it's all the material plane, but they're in different. It's kind of weird if you're like, oh, they're like different planets in space. No, you're wrong. It's weird, and it's definitely born out of the 80s. But Planescape, very 90s. It's all about belief. Like your belief has a whole lot to do with what's going on in the world. And maybe this is a bad idea for your characters, because your guys are just like common thugs.
Yes, we are the commonest of thugs.
Yes.
We will get to our characters and exactly how common they are.
This started off as just like a throwaway thing, but now we're playing a modified version of Dead Gods, which I've changed a little bit to kind of reflect the Suffering Coast and the world that we live in. So just in case Joe decides to go grab a copy of Dead Gods and like find out where the story's going, that's not going to work out too well for him because of interspersed it with some other stuff from Planescape.
And I want to play the game right as well. I wouldn't even do that.
Fair enough. I don't know what you do in your spare time, man.
I edit the podcast.
Fair enough. But that's what we're doing, and it's really interesting because there's this one part where like this evil thing warps the Yggdrasil, which is like the world tree, and then the town bursts into flames. And I absolutely expected that you guys were like gonna go and get involved in the town. And then you guys were like, no, screw this. We're going to go run for like the first portal we find. And you do. And you end up skipping like an entire chapter of the story, which I guess is okay. But like once you're there, I can't like, well, they're already interacting with these people and they wouldn't have like new or different information to tell them. So I guess we're just going to like skip all that. Except now they're fighting enemies way stronger than them. But the book is designed for second edition. So I'm slowly kind of like adapting all this Planescape stuff into 5th edition just to make it work. Requires a lot of fluff, which we will talk about in a little bit. But
I think this is a good segue, not to fluff, but you said we just skipped a thing to talk about Annihilus and Big Keth.
Yes.
We are common villains. Annihilus is a sorcerer who uses his magic to steal stuff. Mm-hmm. He has taken Mage Hand and Hold Person, and literally every time he gets to learn a new spell, he's like, when I get home from this crazy adventure, I'm still going to have to go break into people's house and take stuff. What would be a good spell for that?
Yeah. He hasn't, like, once looked at, maybe this would be a good spell for me to have right now.
No.
While I'm dealing with this problem.
He has exactly no foresight when he's talking about what's happening now, but when he gets home. So we were going after these halflings, and these Gith came, and we ended up in this portal, and it's like Big Keth and Annihilus just want to go home. Mm-hmm. So we go into the life tree, and do the Squirrelmen have a racial name?
Ratatosk?
Radagast?
Ratatosk.
The Ratatosk are like, oh, the tree of all the portals is broken, and we need to fix it. And we're like, cool. Which one's the one that gets us home? Because we want to go home. It's like, oh, but there's this great evil, and you need to... Yeah, about the great evil and everything. We'll fix it once we get home. And we have no interest in helping anyone. And this is why we skip so much stuff.
You guys are like, screw this, we're out.
You throw a portal at us, there is a non-zero chance that it will get us home. And that's all we're looking for.
Which is amazing, because I just put you in Sigil, the City of Doors, which is... There are portals everywhere. You are just going to be confronted with portal, and I'm like not sure what you guys are going to do. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to completely abandon this story that you guys are doing and just accept that, well, great, now they're in... am I just going to make it up? Am I going to like railroad them back onto this adventure? Or am I going to like just decide they're in Greyhawk now? Or that now they're in Dark Sun and they're lost in a desert and magic is evil and you guys are f***ed?
Yeah. Well, is divine magic also evil?
Magic is evil.
Okay.
In Dark Sun, because the magic is like a weird like analogy for pollution, and magic has destroyed the world and turned this lush world into a desert. And the only people that are like with magic are like these dragon kings that like rule the world, and they're evil. So, if a sorcerer rolled in a town, no matter where his magic's coming from, everyone's going to be like, oh god, he's evil.
Okay.
And if a Divine Spellcaster rolled in, they'd probably feel the same way. Especially since he's like a war cleric. No one's going to notice that he's a war cleric. They're just going to be like, he's got magic, get him! And start like throwing stones or something.
But I can tell you exactly what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to find a portal labeled home and walk through it. Because that is...
They're not exactly labeled.
Okay. We will find one that has some markings that look similar to home.
Good luck.
That one's got a roof on it with a chimney. Must be home. Because I don't know anything about the city of Sigil or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And you shouldn't worry about railroading us. Because we will make that choice on the portal based on knowing from... There are probably people all over the place who know which portal goes where. And we will ask them which one leads us to Boston. And if they don't know, we're just going to jump in a portal. So wherever that portal takes us, don't consider it a railroad at all. Because that's the portal we jumped into.
Fair enough.
You said there were like nigh infinite portals in this town?
Probably.
Right.
There's some people that catalog portals and stuff, and when new portals are found, like, oh, we gotta make sure we keep track of this. And there's like people that you can pay to find out like about portals. Mm-hmm. But the problem with the material plane, like a lot of these portals go to various places. The biggest problem you're gonna find with the material plane is that like it's everywhere. The material plane is every campaign setting.
Right.
So you can't just be like, oh, we go to the material plane. Which material plane? Like, are you going to Ravenloft? Or are you going to...
I promise you, neither Phil nor I expect that every individual portal we might go into, you know exactly where it goes.
True story.
If it were me, and I were DMing this kind of thing, I'd be
just going to send them where you're supposed to go next.
And that won't feel railroady, right? The best way to DM a game is to make the players think they are making decisions, but make sure they go through all the content you built.
Fair enough.
Now, if we pop right back out and go into a different portal, and it takes us to the same place, I'm going to be upset with you. So, you gave advice last week to write everything down.
Yeah.
A nihilist is not the kind of person who would remember this stuff. Mm-hmm. Here's the things that I did write down.
Okay. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. There was a constable. His name was Nation Johns.
Yep.
He had a sort of a deputy who was going to take over for him when he retired named Martin, or Marvin. It's hard to see with my handwriting.
I just decided, like, hey, yeah, he's going to name Martin.
The person who runs the town we were in,
yep,
which is Crux, right?
Yep, Crux was the town you were in.
Veritas Mauve,
yep,
was his name. And those are the big things that a nihilist would care enough about to listen to. But the stuff that a nihilist took as a thief,
yes,
I wrote all of this stuff down. So here's another problem that I have is sometimes I just write stuff down and I'm like, oh, I'll totally remember what that is. Mm-hmm. This just says, hey, Oscar.
A. Oscar?
A. Oscar.
Jimmy the Fish, I think, was originally named Oscar, but it was a while between the last time we had played.
No, this was written yesterday.
This was written yesterday.
Yeah.
A. Oscar.
A. Oscar.
A. Oscar is the dead god of portals.
Okay, I'm writing that down now. It might be cheating. I might be metagaming. But I'm going to do it anyway. So, Jimmy the Fish.
A. Oscar.
A. Oscar.
Yeah, Jimmy the Fish had a different name, I'm sure of it, but I couldn't remember what it was, and neither could you. So it was like, Jimmy the Fish.
Yeah, the criminal background gives you a criminal contact that you always know how to reach.
Rules as written, I guess. But it's just like, no, you're like in another reality. How could you possibly have a criminal contact?
I can't believe you didn't rule zero that away.
I tried to yesterday, and you whined about it and got out the player handbook and then read the entire background in entirety. So you know what? Fine. You have a criminal contact. There's one other person from the Suffering Coast, and it's him. And every time you're like, I know how to get in contact with my criminal contact, you're gonna turn to him and go, hey, can you go to Crux and give Jimmy the Fish this message?
You gave me Jimmy the Fish the first time we were there, and he's like, yeah, okay, I'll allow it. That sounds fun. But now I'm using him for everything.
Yeah, but in a ridiculous way. You're just sending him fake messages.
Right, I started off the day sending him a message that says, the kettle is full of bees. To which he then got to me a cylinder.
A mysterious cylinder.
Which is written on my character sheet in my equipment section as mysterious cylinder. I have not opened it, do not know what's in it, but I got it. Also got a blue cloak off of a dead body.
Yep. You looted the dead body that you guys found?
I used prestidigitation to clean up the blood. Didn't know you could do that?
Yep, you can. Well, no, you didn't, because you kept saying, and I'm wearing this cloak covered in blood.
I did at the very end when I was reading the prestidigitation spell effects.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter, because everything you did covered in the blood of some guy.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what?
I have a constable's uniform.
Yep.
2 deputy constable silver badges, 1 constable badge. I've also written here in my name is now Constable Annihilus. Because deception is OP sometimes. I think I got someone to appoint me constable or something.
No, so you're supposed to like save the guards from the visages, and instead, like, you killed most of them. And a couple were still alive at the very end.
Yeah, we're the bad guys.
That's fine. And you rolled a really good deception check.
I think it was 24.
And the guards genuinely believed that you were the new constable for some reason. And so they're like, "Oh yes, sir!" you just like found the actual constable who had been killed and like stole his uniform. And meanwhile, like a undead demon was posing as the constable, and like 30 minutes before they saw this guy. So I'm letting you have it. It's not gonna matter. Like, it's not gonna affect anything in the long run.
Yeah, I really don't think we're going back to this town. But if we do, I am the constable. I should write down where I'm a constable of.
Anyone that has played Dead Gods in Planescape is probably laughing at the thing you just said, but that's fine. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and we'll hear about it next time we play these. What else do I have here? Oh, you gave us 5 crossbow bolts of fire. 10
I did.
in total, and we split those up.
Because you guys were dying, and I was like, I should give them something to get them through this. And then you didn't use them.
No, not once.
Nope. And you just somehow made your way through it.
Right, because...
Well, you guys finally started using cover for one, but...
I did.
Well, yeah, you did.
He used Shield of Faith.
Bill was like, I'm going to use Shield of Faith. Okay.
I mean, when you get a 20 AC, it doesn't really...
That's true.
Now, when all you have is mage armor and a cloak, you still have a dead guy, and your AC is 13.
You get a lot of gold now. I mean, you could have spent it on... I mean, I gotta tell you guys are like the little engine that could of campaigns. Because, like, there's a bunch of times you're like, we're just gonna run into this whole other section that, like, I'm not supposed to come to until later. And then get into a fight with something.
Yeah, we're
like,
just gonna run headlong into danger.
Right, and it's like, man, they're not gonna be able to beat this thing. And then you beat it, and I'm like, well... I mean, part of me wants to be the responsible DM and like, not award them that much XP. But also, I guess I have to. Because... Though I don't have to, but I guess I really should. Because they're about to keep moving, and they're still really underleveled for what they're doing now.
Yeah, and it's just good rolls at the right time. It's not
and terrible rolls the rest of the time.
Oh, yes. If I'm trying to bargain down the bartender, I will roll a 4. But if I really need Shocking Grasp on that one last guy, crit. And it's great. If I really need to convince the entire town that I'm their constable, that's when I get the 26.
And this guy that like showed up 2 days ago through a portal, and everyone was just like, who's this guy? And now, like, a couple days later, it's just like, yeah, I'm totally a constable. I believe him. What?
But
I'm also going to leave your town now. Don't worry about it.
I put Marvin as my senior deputy. His name's Marvin now.
Okay, sure.
My characters have this awful habit of renaming NPCs.
Joe has this really awful habit of not remembering people that I told him their name 3 minutes ago, so he starts to rename them.
I asked out loud in this audio what was the man's name, and you said, "Oh, it's just something I threw together," not answering my question. So I want you to know
I
have no idea where I'm going with this angry voice.
Yeah, I figured.
Last time we played, we went into a portal, and there were these scorpion women, men, centaur
Scorpion
things.
men, centaur things.
We killed one of them and became their king or something.
Nothing like that happened.
We are worshipped as gods.
You guys think that's what happened, but you guys went and like met the proxy of Set, but the whole time you were like trying to flirt and like almost got yourself killed a bunch of times. But we're adamantly convinced that like we're like the leaders now.
You would be a much better way to spend our time is I'll explain what Annihilus and Keth think happened. And then you can tell our wonderful internet people
what actually
happened.
Yeah.
I will even do it in the Annihilus voice.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so we were hanging out with these scorpions. We woke up. They roofied us. I think they may have had our way with us.
Your way with us?
Our way with us. We liked it. How you doing? And then they took us to the new place, the town of Crux. We'd been there before.
So it wasn't really a new place.
It wasn't a new place in any way. We went in this tower. We did some Scooby-Doo mysteries because the Scorpion lady wanted to. We found out that that Davey had been killed. Took his cloak. It was blue. It's a nice color on me. Brings out my eyes. Then we went to where the constable lives. He appointed me as new constable. We killed some undead floaty guys, and we went in a portal. Didn't bring us home. Bada boom.
You guys completely ignored that a druid was burning down the town and ran headlong into a portal that you weren't supposed to find for a while until after the Scooby-Doo mysteries.
There was a druid burning down the town?
Yeah.
I thought I was burning down the town.
No. You thought... So, what happened was, they just, like, threw a fireball off into nowhere, and then the town started burning, and they adamantly, like, were like, oh, shit, we're burning the town down, we gotta get out of here. But that's not what was happening. So, the warp wood that was poisoning a Glitter Eye also was affecting the druids in town.
I didn't even know there were druids in town.
Yeah, I told you that the first time you guys went to Crux, and you didn't listen. But that's okay. So they were burning down the town because they were going crazy. Also, a ton of villagers died because you didn't go there and stop them. But so you guys like wound up running away, and then like you went through a portal, and it's like, well, I guess they're here now because that's kind of where they are. So that makes sense. So then you were confronted by like the proxy of Set and her minions, and you guys were like, hey, so glad to be back. We're the rulers. And they were like, no, there's like some stuff going on, but don't worry, we'll take care of it. You go on back home now. And so you guys got back, and you went into the tavern, and at that point I was trying to set you guys on the Scooby-Doo mystery path, where you find the dead body in the trunk. And you guys just did like everything in your power to convince the town that you were the new constable. So then I was like, all right, I gotta get... So then I just kind of like went off in a totally different... It's like, none of this happens anymore. I just gotta get... They're not gonna investigate. They're not gonna solve this mystery. I just gotta trick them into going to the like High Point and like fighting the visages that are there. And then you guys got to High Point and just wrecked shop.
And High Point's like... It was that tower we were in?
It was that tower place you were in, yeah. Like built into the tree. And then after that, since you guys hadn't been to Sigil, you guys went there and you met back up with Jack Namro, who is actually...
Who did we meet up with?
The wizard in the Walking Tower.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that happened very briefly.
Who's actually not in the rest of the campaign as it's written, but he's just such a delightful character to me, especially the way that I decided to play him, that I decided I want him back. Also, you guys are going to need some help, because you guys keep almost dying at every turn.
Yeah, so a couple things about the almost dying is we're supposed to die. We were level 1 characters who are in this big thing that doesn't matter to us. Yeah. Right? Like, we don't care about the world.
Listen, I'm not fluffing any of this. You guys are legitimately surviving. And I'm like, you know what? They're making it. Maybe, you know what? I'm going to reward them for that. And I'm giving you some help. I gave you a cleric that hasn't come with you on anything yet. But
no.
But she will in the future, and I'm going to give you a wizard with a walking castle that's going to help you guys out with some stuff. So you're not going to be totally alone and stumbling through the Netherverse, just getting your asses handed to you, you know?
All right. Sounds really fun. I can't wait to play it again. Unfortunately, we seem to only play when we can't play with our main group.
Yeah.
Which hopefully doesn't happen ever again.
Wow. That's nice.
Well, because I want to play with everybody.
Right, I know.
I want to play with Johnny and Dom from Wicked Good Gaming.
Dom from Wicked Good Gaming?
Yeah, Dom from Wicked Good Gaming.
I don't think Johnny's part of Wicked Good Gaming.
That's why I didn't say Johnny from Wicked Good Gaming. That's why I said Dom from Wicked Good Gaming.
You said Johnny and Dom from Wicked Good Gaming.
Johnny and Dom from Wicked Good Gaming.
But you can see where...
I want to play with Dom from Wicked Good Gaming and Johnny. Does that make you feel better?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, let's do another ad break, and in there we'll have a fist fight, and we'll come back. Well, one of us will.
There can be only one.
Hey there, wonderful internet people. Joe here, again to talk to you about Patreon. Patreon is a voluntary subscription service where you can support the people creating the things you love, like Gemhammer, for as little as $1 a month. We're currently working on many different perks to add value to being a Gemhammer patron. One that is available right now for the minimum donation of $1 a month is access to the Gemhammer Patrons secret Facebook group. All of us here at Gemhammer will be on the Facebook group almost every day. We'll be talking about the podcast, the projects we're working on, and the games we're playing. So if there's a system you think we should be making projects for, if there's a topic you want to hear discussed on the podcast, or if you just want to stop by and say hi, the best way is the Gemhammer Facebook group, available only to patrons, but available to all patrons even at $1 a month. Please visit patreon.com/Gemhammer for more information.
All right, and we're back. This is Conor and Joe with the Gemhammer Podcast, and for the main segment this week, we're talking about flavor and fluff.
The big take-home from this podcast, the main section of this podcast anyway, is that the flavor text that comes with spells, with items,
class abilities,
is all just flavor text.
Absolutely.
And a good DM and a good player working with a good DM should be able to strip away that flavor to just the mechanics and build new flavor on top of it.
Yeah.
The classic example that we were talking about earlier was changing an elemental type, right? There is functionally no difference between doing cold damage and doing fire damage in 5th edition, right? There are some enemies that are resistant or weak to different damage types, but if you wanted to play a ground-based earth sorcerer, right? And you go to your DM and say, hey, I would like to have Firebolt, but I'm thinking about being ground. Can it do acid damage instead? Unless your DM specifically has you going up, unless this is an ooze-themed adventure.
Yeah.
And going up against something specifically that is weak or immune or resistant to acid damage, I see no problem with that.
Also, the other thing is, like, you've told them you can do this. So, like, what enemies they come up against later on that, oh, well, I'm giving them things that are going to be weak against that. I shouldn't do that. Right, but you control that.
Right.
You decided, like, first of all, you could tell them no. Second of all, like, if I want to play Ice Wizard, but, like, there are way more, like, fire and laser and beam weapon. Like, if I just decide that everything's ice, it's an ice beam and it freezes, or, like, hold person is actually, I'm freezing them in frost or whatever. That's cool, man. Give them all the ice spells.
Right.
Give them all the ice spells you want. Now, unless you're, like, trekking across the plane of fire, it really shouldn't matter.
And the other thing is, sure, taking the acid example I was doing earlier, that trolls, if they're burned with acid, don't regenerate. Well, make a fire troll who regenerates unless he's hit with fire. Right? There's no reason you can't play mix and match with those damage types and resistances.
Right.
I mean, in the fluff for some of these, it makes more sense or less sense. If you had a troll that, actually I think any of the damage types make perfect sense for would end regeneration.
Psychic.
Okay, psionic thunder damage probably wouldn't do it.
Thunder trolls.
Man, thunder trolls. Completely OP, I would say. If someone built a thunder troll, I would have no idea how to deal with that.
Session 1, you guys are going up against a thunder troll.
Thunder troll. Oh man, that sounds awesome. We're gonna
build a thunder troll.
We're gonna build a thunder troll for you people, for you wonderful.
Who from Gemhammer Games? Thunder troll for 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and probably not 4th edition.
Probably not 4th edition. And Pathfinder. And the Star Wars role-playing game where you can play a thunder troll.
The new Star Wars race, Thunder Troll. I want to play a Thunder Troll Jedi. Can we have that be a character class in Game of Thrones? I want to re-roll my characters as a Thunder Troll.
To be a Thunder Troll? Yeah, I don't see why not.
There's no such thing as magic. I'm a Thunder Troll? Well, shit.
I'm not talking about snarks and Thunder Trolls and Shadow Cats. But it's not just magic spells. I want to make that abundantly clear as well. We have Phil's playing a core, and he mentioned this idea of having his swords have like little teeth on the back that helped him climb.
Yeah.
Now he's got a climb speed. He doesn't make climb checks.
Right, he doesn't need that.
There's no mechanical benefit to him having these climb helping swords. It's just flavor. And the flavor is cool. So let it happen.
A great example is if you're playing Beastmaster Ranger, and you only have access to certain creatures when you do that. Like
Beastmaster is you get a friend?
You get an animal companion. And there are only certain animals that you can take as your companion. Now it's like, you can't take a bear. Like, bear is just not an option that you can take. But, there's nothing to say that you can't take a wolf and just call it a bear. There's no reason that you can't take a hyena or some other animal that's, like, roughly close enough and call it a bear. It's like, I got a mastiff bear. It's flavor text. It's like, it doesn't change the stats of a thing that they could already use.
Right. We're not saying go and take a Tarrasque as your animal companion
and call it a bear.
And call it a bear and
we're not saying
stats
homebrew a bear that's going to be a low enough CR so that they can take it. What I'm saying is just take a wolf. Just take a wolf or a giant weasel and just pretend it's a bear and use those stats.
Right. Pick something that has a claw or a bite.
Right.
And then you've got a wonderful animal companion who is the bear. If you are a bear-themed Beastmaster.
Right.
You've got Eberron out, I see.
Yes, I do have Eberron out, and that's because we had also, when we were talking about this originally, not in the podcast, just before we did this, we were talking about reskinning a little bit. And as I've said before, I want to introduce some Eberron stuff into our campaign setting. One, because it was available to us, and two, because we're kind of in a place where I kept saying high magic. I guess a higher level of technology, but also like a higher high magic. I also kept saying high fantasy. Yeah. It's not high fantasy. High magic, high technology, being in our world. It's not really that I want Eberron. It's just that Eberron has all the stuff like that. And now, don't get me wrong, Eberron's cool as hell. I'm sitting here with my 3.5 Eberron campaign setting, and I could read this every day. There's just so much cool stuff in here. But a great thing is, like, there's Eberron for 5th edition, but it's just like, hey, if you want to play a Warforged or a Shifter, and also here's the rules for Dragon Marked as feats. It doesn't give you the 5th edition Eberron book. There is no book for Eberron for 5th edition. So it's like, you're still kind of like, well, I gotta figure this out.
Right.
And I have this opened up to Iron Defender, which is a construct. It's like a robotic dog. And then I have this open up to Warg. First of all, it's a robotic dog. So some wolf or dog or something, that it's going to just be like that. Mm-hmm. Are they different? Obviously. Like, are they from totally different settings and game systems? Absolutely. But they're close enough.
They're remarkably similar monsters.
Similar monsters. Like, again, in different systems. So, like, comparing their AC and everything, probably not the best use of my time. But if I'm going to pretend that an Iron Defender exists, and I'm going to put you guys up against 1 or 5 or whatever, there's no reason that I'm going to have to, like, homebrew an Iron Defender. Or maybe if Wizards just wants to make an Eberron book for 5th edition with that stuff in it. But they haven't. But there's no reason why I can't just say a Warg is an Iron Defender.
Right.
I can just use these stats. It doesn't change anything. There's not anything inherently different or special about Iron Defenders in here.
Right.
That it's like, I've completely lost them. I've completely lost the essence of the thing by using a Warg in its place. And that's a big thing here, is that there's lots of stuff that... There's lots of animals. I played a druid for a long time. Torben. And he was a bear druid. And he wasn't like your typical magic casting spells druid. He wanted to be a fighter. He wanted to turn into a bear and punch things to death with his bear claws. And the problem is that it's like...
You missed a perfect opportunity to say punch things to death with his bare hands.
But the problem is that it's like... So I can turn into a black bear, which is low AC. Then I can turn into a brown bear. And then I can eventually get the polar bear. But as we got into the higher levels, we get to level 10 and 11... Well, I mean, bears aren't so great anymore, and I only have 2 wild shapes. I gotta, like, be careful of what I do this with. Mm-hmm. I also had polymorph at that point, and it's like, well, flavor text-wise, like, my character wants to turn into a bear every time. Like, sometimes I turned into a spider when we were in the Underdark, because it made sense to get down this massive pit. Yep. Or, like, save one of our friends that was falling.
Or something that can fly, or something with a burrow speed.
Which, I mean, that just made perfect sense to do at the time, but, like, push comes to shove. We're getting into a regular fight. I want to be a bear. So that's when... We had first had this conversation, and now I'm like just flipping pages trying to get to stuff. But I guess it doesn't matter. It was dinosaurs. Like, we got to a point where it was like, all right, I can start turning into dinosaurs. I can polymorph into a T-Rex at this point. There's not a reason in the world why I can't just turn into a T-Rex.
Right.
But say I'm a bear.
Also, this is important. Your character has never seen a T-Rex in his life.
Right, exactly.
That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
That he wouldn't have seen one?
That he would turn into something he's never seen before.
Right, exactly. So,
but also actually exists in the world.
Right. So with T-Rex, it's like you can use a bite or your tail attack. Depending, it's like, okay, I'm never going to use the tail attack, and I'm going to use the bite attack every time. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be, in terms of stats and what I'm doing, a T-Rex. But as far as flavor text and as far as what's happening in the campaign, I just turned into a primal bear. So Torben, my druid, he wants to be a bear all the time. There isn't a bear that's useful to him at the higher levels. So just being a T-Rex with polymorph and me saying, and he turns into a giant bear, and I'm holding up a piece of paper that says, he's a T-Rex. What does that change? What does that hurt?
You're just a furry T-Rex with longer arms. Right. Who isn't using a claw attack anyway.
Right, exactly. I'm just using the bite. It's not hurting anything. I'm still playing the stats of the thing I'm allowed to turn into. So, what does it hurt?
Right. Mechanically, nothing has changed.
Exactly.
Though there is a warning here as well that if your DM has allowed you to do something that mechanically doesn't change anything, and then you want it to mechanically change things,
right? Exactly.
You are doing it wrong.
Like if I'm saying I'm a bear, and like the T-Rex has the tail attack. I guess I could use the tail attack and say it's my swipe.
Right.
It's my claws. That's fine, because bears have a multi-attack, T-Rex have a multi-attack. There's nothing wrong here. I can do that, and it's not hurting anything. The problem you run into is if it's like, well, I just really want a Winter Wolf. Can we just, like, say that my Winter Wolf, and I'm, like, going to be Beastmaster Ranger? Can I just say that my wolf is a Winter Wolf? Yeah, you can say that. You can say that your regular wolf is a Winter Wolf, but then don't later be like, yeah, well, but Winter Wolves have an ice breath, so he uses his ice breath. It's like, no, because you don't really have a Winter Wolf. You have a regular wolf that we're pretending is a Winter Wolf.
Right. That's another important thing. If you get your DM to say, oh, you want to be a wizard who casts ice things and you want to change Fireball to Ice Ball, that's great. Now, when you're going against the ice giant that's vulnerable to fire, you don't have Fireball.
Yeah,
you have Ice Ball.
Exactly.
That's what you have prepped. And that's another one of the big takeaways, is this is something you should be building with your DM.
Kind of harken back to our last podcast. Session 0, you should be sitting down, having this conversation. Really want to play a jester? Well, we're only doing PHP stuff. All right, fine. We're only doing that. Well, can I just call this a jester? Even though I'm a bard, can I just call it this?
So the other thing about flavor that I thought would be interesting to talk about is thematic combat, right?
Yeah.
And the difference between I'm going to make an attack with my axe to I grab my two-handed battle axe by its hilt and swing mercilessly at the orc, right? The difference between I cast Hold Person and I move my hands in such a way that a black energy fills it, and I throw it to the ground, and it squeaks across the floor of the dungeon and encapsulates and traps the centaur. When you go to a more thematic style, which might not be your style, if you want to be the roll the dice and do the math kind of player and kind of group, definitely go on to that. You know, you do you, hypothetical combat math person. But if at session 0, you and your group talk about how important it is that we wanted this to really feel thematic, making those descriptions doesn't mechanically change anything.
No.
And is also a really interesting way to build your character, right? The difference between the paladin who takes his sword and uses it to just deftly slice the head off the goblin, and the barbarian who takes his greatsword and runs it through the stomach of the goblin and flips him around, cleaving him in twain while he does, is mechanically no different.
No, it's the exact same thing.
Once you kill somebody, it doesn't matter how you kill them.
You both killed him. You both killed him with a sword. You both killed him with dice.
But one of them is lawful good, and the other one is chaotic evil.
And, like, raging and, like, just slashing things apart.
Right? And you feel more like a paladin, or you feel more like a barbarian, depending on how you thematically describe what is essentially mechanically the exact same action.
I think a great example is that we played this campaign, we called it B Company, and they were kind of like side characters that we had been playing, and mine was based on Aquaman. And Arturo Kurimandius, and he was a water genasi, but just only because merfolk didn't exist.
Yeah.
Now merfolk are kind of an option, so I was like, if only. A couple of times I had this thing where it's like, I think it was a nature cleric. Yeah, it was a nature cleric. But I only used the, like, speak with animals on water animals. Like, we were in a forest, and it's like, well, use your control animals. I was like, no, I can't do that. Well, why not? Well, I can only do that with water animals. That's not true. That's not true of my abilities. I absolutely could have used my abilities to take control of this bear and, like, ride it in the battle, but I didn't. And then there was other times where
if only there were a dolphin here, then all our problems would be solved.
And I had control water or something, like some spell, shape water. And so, like, I had this idea that it was like, all right, I want to, like, ride into the throne room on a wave of water using. It's like, that is not mechanically a thing.
No.
But Dom, when I was doing that, he was like, absolutely, because I'm like the crown prince, and I'd like just ride in, standing on a wave of water, and it's just the fact that I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna pour the water I have on the ground, and I'm gonna use my control water, and I'm like riding in on it or make it. You know, it's clever and it's thematic, and it's like, do I have that ability? Not really. But it's not hurting anything. It's not changing anything. I'm not like, but I want advantage on this next charisma check that I'm about to make
because of how cool
that entrance was. I'm just saying, and that's how I enter the room. And then I think he gave me that charisma check anyway, but that was his decision. I wasn't asking for it.
Right, and that's sort of what inspiration's all about, right?
Exactly.
Inspiration, when done the coolest way possible, is you did something awesome that is in keeping with your character. Here, have this trinket that is inspiration until, you choose to use it.
Exactly.
So we've talked about equipment, we've talked about spellcasters, we've talked about spells, we've talked about class abilities, we've talked about...
Did we talk about equipment?
Yeah, when we talked about Phil and his swords.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Right, but also...
I had a great thing. Johnny, he's playing Warforged in the new campaign. We haven't started yet. He wants, because he was this Warforged that was, left at the bottom of, a cave or a tunnel or something for, 1,000 years before someone found it and, reactivated it. He wants there to, be a nest of mice living in his body. And I was like, now, do you want to, during the downtime activity, train your animal handling and control the mice? Or it's like, no, I don't want to I don't want to use the mice in combat or anything like that. I just want there to be mice living in a nest in me somewhere.
I just want there to be around where my spleen would be a nest, a little family of mice.
Yeah, just a mouse that's gonna come out of where the joints come together on my shoulder, and it just sits on my shoulder and looks around and then goes back in. It's like, that's Randy. Or whatever he's gonna call it, and he's just really gentle giant kind of a thing. So it's he doesn't want to hurt the mice, It's we can have them removed. No, they're fine. They're not hurting anyone. They're fine, And that's just fluff. That's just a little flavor, And that makes me feel like they're really getting into their character and committing to these are the kind of people they are. And so absolutely, he wants a family of mice living inside of him. He's got it.
Yep.
It's all for him. At the same time, you shouldn't say, hey, can I have a pack of dire wolves that happen to live in my house and they're my best friends and they come with me on adventures.
Yeah,
that's a little much. That's not fluff. That's, I want a pack of dire wolves.
Right. This is really the part of the podcast where it's be a good DM, right?
And also, be a good player,
Yes, be a good player. Don't go, oh, I can pull this over on my DM because it's his first time, and he won't know that a repeating crossbow does way more damage than daggers. So saying, I have this instead of that is different.
We're talking about, instead of a dagger, I have, a throwing star.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's only going to be used as a throwing knife. It's or I'm going to throw it, or I'm going to hold it and stab someone with it. It's the same thing. It's going to do the same damage. But saying instead of a dagger, I have 7 rapiers tied together, or instead of a dagger, I have a short sword.
Right.
And then later but they're short swords, so it does the damage of a short sword. No, that's not cool.
Right. The difference is between I have a repeating crossbow and instead of it coming from the bottom, I want to be like Rambo and have this rope-tied long bandolero of arrows coming in and saying, because of that, I should be able to shoot this thing 3 times around.
Exactly.
Right? One of those is awesome and just flavor and doesn't affect anything mechanically. The other one would break the game and your wizard would be doing the most martial damage in the game. So any final thoughts?
Fluff is great. Fluff lets you really think about your characters, lets your players think about the characters, lets the DM help you explore that kind of stuff. Also helps you build a bigger world. Dawnforge Cast is this great thing about reskinning characters. You should look into that. It's on YouTube. Mm-hmm. It helps you build a better world. Just a little fluff, a little flavor change. Just, you can take it, you don't even need to change anything. Just take a monster and call it something else. I've done that a bunch of times where it's man, I need one of these. What's a rough approximation of that?
What's roughly the CR I'm looking for that has the same number of legs and heads?
Yeah. I think I needed Scorpion Men for something we were doing, and I was like, well, you know what? I know that Scorpion Men are a thing in some versions. I don't think there's one in the current monster manual, but you know what there are? There are Driders. That's a person with the lower body of an arachnid. I'm not going to use any of this. With poison. Yeah. So you know what? That's what it is. And it's not hurting anything for me to do it that way.
I can tell you, as a player who has fought a dragon, a
Scorpion Man?
A Scorpion Centaur,
yep,
did not know it was a Drider.
Yeah.
And it was totally fine. I'm just he probably found someone online who threw away this Scorpion Centaur thing.
It was just here's a Drider.
Yeah.
Well, what do you do about the tail attack? Well, what does it matter? It's look at the attacks, man. Figure it out. Just call it a tail attack.
Right. Instead of its claws, one of its claws that does poison damage, it's its tail this time.
Yeah. And so next week when you guys fight lobster centaurs,
then I'll know.
Yeah.
If the lobster centaur has poison, and dark vision. Then I'll know.
Guys, I just feel like maybe he's running out of ideas. Well, what makes you say that? Well, first we fought those drow. Yeah? Then we fought those scorpion men. Yeah? Then we fought those lobster people. Okay? Well, now we're fighting
that tarantula
these crab
owl
men.
bear.
Yeah. The tarantula owl bear. Okay? I just feel like he's just throwing all these humanoids with the lower bodies of giant arachnids and crustaceans. Go on. About the Red Lobster campaign.
I would love it. You had said something about making your character unique and making it really, and fleshing out a character. One of the big things that I sort of, my aversion to going whole hog 5e is how little customization you have among characters, right?
I disagree. Well, here's the thing. You don't have...
Compared to Pathfinder. One of the things that I love about this flavor is taking the sort of limited options you have for especially the martial classes in 5e and making them unique, right? And making them not the same as every other thief rogue that's out there, thief archetype rogue class, by, I'm going to focus on acrobatics and making sure that I'm climbing up and coming down and stabbing people. My sneak attack won't be ever sneaking from behind them. It's always dropping down from on top of them, right? Mechanically, same sneak attack damage. Maybe you have to do an extra couple checks to do it, but instead of stealth checks, you're doing climb checks, right? So, as always, if you guys have any questions for us, any reaction that we can react to, you know how to find us on Twitter at Gemhammer, on our website, the comment section on the podcast, gemhammer.com. We're on Facebook.
Instagram.
Our own website. We're on Instagram.
We're on Instagram. Look at all the pictures of the boxes in my dining room.
Right. But find us somewhere on the internet, and hopefully we will talk to you guys from Vermont.
Woo!
Yeah, we're going to be recording, Saturday night?
I believe so.
So, bonus podcast this week. The next time you hear from us, we will be back in our own homes because of when it goes up, but we will have recorded what you heard in Vermont.
I'm excited.
That was a sentence that made sense, right?
Sure, absolutely.
All right. Toodles.